And when my parents came home from work, I told them, like, hey, the neighbor, Chepo was his name. I said, he has to borrow the bike. And instantly my mom goes, no. And I was like, what happened? She's like, you're never seeing that bike again.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah, man.
James Grand Prix was actually asking me the other day how I got into doing this sort of video and photography sort of stuff. And I was recounting back to that first back to school work day that we had. Our first one must have been fall of 2019. And James Cowart was like, hey, can you take some pictures that we can post online? I'm like, yeah, I can take pictures. I actually take some video because I just started playing around with Adobe Premiere. And so I'm taking some video and I walk up to Ed Varela and I'm like, hey, Ed, can you tell us what we got going on here today? And just at the drop of a hat, man, you went and it was awesome. You did your thing.
All right, it's Ed Varela here, Trinitas Christian School, work day, August 10th. It's been pretty brutal. Temperature's about 150 outside, humidity about 170.
You're great in front of the camera.
Well, that's funny that you say that. So I remember, I think it was the next year, you came up to me again to do the interview again and say, hey, last year worked out so well, would you do it again? And I think at that moment I had gum in my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember James coming up to me afterwards. It's like, hey, great interview with Matt, but did you have to do it while you were chewing gum? And I go, it's spontaneous. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Funny. I remember that. That was for Love Thy Neighbor, I think.
Oh, maybe it was that one.
It is Friday, November 15th. We are at Trinitas Christian School.
I was like, I was in the moment. I had gum. Sorry.
Yeah, that's funny. But you just nailed it. And so thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
How do you introduce yourself these days?
How do I introduce myself? I don't know. Funny little thing. I always introduce myself as Edward because if I say Ed, it sounds just like a vocal noise. And they're like, I'm sorry, what's your name? So I'm Edward. But yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah. I'm Ed. Ed Varela. Varela's not Italian. Everyone thinks, oh, you're from Italy. Like maybe somewhere back in the genealogy somewhere, but my family's from South America.
Yeah. And what parts of South America?
So Varela, my dad, he's from Colombia, but my mom's from Brazil.
And they came to the States?
I think my mom was 70 and my dad was 71.
Okay.
But I might be having that mixed up.
And that was before they knew each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
They met each other here in the States, so before they knew each other.
And how long have we known each other?
I got to go back to think when your kids started at Trinitas. I think Lily started in 6th grade?
Fifth.
Fifth grade, so 7 years.
Yeah. Goes by quick.
Yeah, I remember seeing you, the Home Depot dad. You were there at morning meeting. You'd have your orange shirt on sometimes. But then we had the father-son camp out.
Yes, good. I wanted to tell that story.
Yeah, so I remember father-son camp out, and I always try to be mindful of like new people. I remember being the new person in different situations and like wanting to get connected with people. So I always try to find new people, and I saw you at the father-son camp out. I'm like, all right, I gotta go meet this guy.
Yeah.
Meet the Home Depot dad. And that camp out is in March, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which is, kind of near the end of the school year. So we kind of got to know each other more at the end of the year. But anyway, so we met, and, I knew your kids a little bit from teaching them that first year. But then Sam would host a Memorial Day party.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Sam, I said, hey, there's this new dad at the school. Let's invite him. We got to get him connected with other dads. And obviously, you came, and that was a party where you just videoed everybody doing backflips into the pool. That was. And Sam was on his high and doing his gainer backflips, and I'm like, oh my word, he's gonna die,
scaring the mess out of us.
Gonna have a concussion. Yeah. And that was your intro to the crazy group of guys.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for that, man. And for you in particular. I tell that story of the camp out all the time as that's the pivotal moment of when we really began to get integrated into the whole Trinitas school and culture. And
otherwise,
a great way to get to know everybody. And
kind of stand on the outside, right? These outliers instead of people who are connected.
Yeah. And you were pivotal in that. And you do that well all the time. So thankful for that. All right, so we talked about your parents a little bit, where they're from. Tell me where you grew up and what that was like.
Yeah. So I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey, Northeast Jersey, about 15 miles from New York City. It's a whole different world than like Pensacola, but I love my story. Like I love that that's where God had me grow up.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like I experienced two different worlds. So, this New York City suburb, although it's on the New Jersey side. So I said my parents are from South America. And in that area of New Jersey, everybody kind of lives almost by their demographic. So where I lived was like all the Colombians. If you were to drive down 21st Avenue, which is the main street by me, I mean, you had your Colombian bakery, your Colombian bodega, your corner store. You had tons of Colombian restaurants. So everything in that area was like the Colombian district.
Okay.
You went further down, it was the Italian district. Further downtown, the Peruvian, the Arabic district. So kind of like I think you hear in New York City, like they have these districts as well, like the Jewish district, the Chinese district. So I was so used to this multicultural world. The church that I grew up in, Madison Avenue Baptist Church, we would have 4 services every Sunday. In the mornings, the Spanish church and the English church Spanish would start with their worship service, English would start with Sunday school, and then they would switch. English would do worship while Spanish does Sunday school.
Interesting.
And then in the afternoon, the Arabics would do their worship service while the Koreans did Sunday school. And then they would switch. The Koreans would do their worship service while the Arabics did their Sunday school.
Wow.
But I thought everywhere was like that. If you wanted Spanish food, it wasn't just go to here, La Hacienda. It's like, oh, what country are you in the mood for today? Do you want Colombian today? You want a Puerto Rican and a Peruvian? And so I really enjoyed that. That's how I grew up. It gives me, I think, a little bit more of a appreciation for what we have in the States, because I have this whole other world of immigrants that I grew up with. I remember a girl who came in the 5th grade. Her family moved from Chile to the States when she was in 5th grade. She couldn't speak a word of English. And I just remember like seeing like the terror on this girl's face. And, that gave me like empathy for her. I'm like, you've got this new girl, not just new school, like, oh, I don't know anybody here.
Yeah.
Like new continent,
Yeah.
New language, new way of life. So it helps me understand and sympathize more with people from other countries a little bit. So I said my parents came here in the 70s, but they still work so they worked at a factory, and a lot of immigrants at the factory. So even at their job, they were around Spanish-speaking people a lot. So they kept speaking Spanish. At the church I'd go to, sometimes they would go to the Spanish service, sometimes they would go to the English service, but they're still in the Spanish-speaking world. So English was never, it just never became a strong language for them. To this day, if you hear them talk, my mom's English is a little broken, or a lot broken, but she's not comfortable speaking English in front of a group of people much. But I'm always, I feel like, maybe on the lookout. Like if I hear someone at a restaurant and I hear that they're struggling, like I immediately want to go help them.
Yeah.
I'll just say, I'm like, hey, necesita ayuda. And then you just see the relief on their face, like, oh, yes.
Nice.
And, it's hard. Like I saw my parents struggle, and especially things with money. There's such a fear of, I'm going to mess up saying something and now I'm going to be out of my money. I was a bank teller, and when I was trying to think if it was high school, and it was when I was in college, on my breaks, I was a bank teller. And, there's so many immigrants in that Northeast Jersey area, and they would just look for the people who spoke Spanish. They would wait in line, like, no, you go ahead. I'm going to wait for this person over here. They'd wait like 10 minutes just so they get a teller who they felt comfortable with, so they didn't mess up a transaction. Well, the funny thing is I don't look very Hispanic because my mom's Brazilian and her parent, come from a German background. So I had a funny day at the bank where somebody was waiting. I saw this customer waiting. I flagged them over. Hey, you're next. And they're like, no. I'll wait for them. I'm like, okay. And they waited like 10, 15 minutes. And then finally someone came up to my window, and I could tell that they were struggling speaking English. And so I just spoke Spanish back to them. Like, do you speak Spanish? And she was like, oh, yes. Well, the person waiting in line was like, are you kidding me? You speak Spanish? I'm like, I tried calling you over 15 minutes ago. But, there's this very real fear when English isn't your first language that you're going to mess something up. And, whether I make the transaction wrong. I remember being at the airport. And so my mom's from Brazil and they speak Portuguese. Portuguese is, I'm not fluent in it, but I understand a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's similar to Spanish. So like sometimes, I can speak Spanish and they can speak Portuguese back and we'll be okay. Mm-hmm. But I remember being at this airport and hearing this lady at the counter speaking in Portuguese, and she was just at her wits' end. I forget if she missed her flight or I think they changed gates, something like that. Yeah. And she didn't know where to go.
Oh, man.
Well, that's terrifying to be at an airport where you don't know how to communicate effectively.
Yeah.
And, you're at an airport, you're flying somewhere, like you can be stuck in the wrong city. And what do you do from there if you can't communicate to get your way out of that?
Yeah.
So I think where I grew up and how I grew up gave me eyes to see that around me, like who needs help, especially with the language barrier.
Gives you a healthy sympathy for all of that.
And hopefully I think that I try to make that transfer in other areas of life. But yes, they're different. People who speak another language have another culture. It's different. But it gives me a sympathy for people who are different. Mm-hmm. I want to help them instead of just push them off to the side.
Reach out to them at men's campouts.
You weren't like different.
I mean, I spoke English.
You spoke English. But yeah, I really appreciate that side of how I grew up. My parents were factory workers, so very, I would say like lower middle class. Where I lived was, it was in the ghetto. Oh man, I remember this kind of feel like a terrifying moment for me. Must have been my senior year of high school. I was driving back from a game or a friend's house or something, but remember it was dark. It was at night. I pulled into the garage, and on the passenger side window, it was my neighbor our neighbor's adult son, who we knew was into drugs and stuff. He must have been super high. He came and just slapped his hands on the passenger window. And this is 11 p.m., 12 a.m. And he was like, hey, I need a ride. Can you just take me just down the street? I got to go to my friend's house and pick something up, or whatever the story was that he was saying. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm not going to take him. Because I knew this guy was, just high in that moment. But I'm like, how do I get inside my house?
Yeah.
It wasn't a garage that had a door into the house. I had to walk out the garage, go up the steps into the front door. And I just was like, what in the world do I do? And then I think eventually he just left, if I remember right.
You just waited him out.
Yeah, I just waited him out. I'm like, door's locked. Pre-cell phone. This is 2000.
Probably just had your pager on.
Yeah. Actually, I never had a beeper.
Yeah.
I had a friend who did, but no, my brother did. Oh well. But anyway, just I say it wasn't the greatest area that I grew up in, but you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time. I tell people that where I grew up, I said, if you ever saw the movie Lean on Me, where Morgan Freeman was the school principal, Free Mr. Clark, right? Eastside High School. That was the high school I was zoned to go to.
Oh, wow.
It was 5 minutes down the street from my house. But my parents had me in Christian education my whole life, so I didn't wind up going to Eastside High. But actually, funny, that takes me to a different story. So the Christian school I grew up at was just a K through 8 school. So after 8th grade, it was done. So I had to go to somewhere else for high school. Well, for high school, I went to Hackensack Christian, which was a county over, and Bergen County was the posh people. Bergen County was nice. It was a very well-off area, but didn't think anything of it. And remember, there was always a little joke of the kids from Patterson are coming. It felt a little bit like the kids from the other side of the railroad tracks. But I didn't think much of it until I think it was maybe my sophomore year or junior year. I said something to a group of friends from school. I said, hey, why don't you guys, we were planning on getting together somewhere for a weekend. I'm like, oh, we can do it at my house. And then I remember things getting kind of quiet. And then one of the girls said, we're not allowed to go to Patterson. And that was my moment of, what do you mean?
What?
Yeah, like, what do you mean you're not allowed to go to Patterson?
That's where I live.
Yeah, that's right. Like, why would I can go to your house? Why can't you come to my house?
Yeah.
And then she said, our parents won't let us go to Patterson. And I was like, oh. So that was kind of like a moment for me of like realizing, I guess where I grew up is rougher than I knew. Maybe I just thought other places were like that. And where I was the place where parents were trying to shelter their kids from. And, you know, in the moment it hurt, like, oh, why their parents won't let them come to my house. But, you know, as a parent now, I see some of that. You want to protect your kids from being in some sketchy places. Yeah. But I say it to say, like, that's where I grew up, and that shaped me. Yeah. I saw a lot of, you know, poverty, drugs, and I just knew as a kid, like, this isn't what I want for me. Mm-hmm. And I think some of that kind of fueled a little bit of a spark in me to take a different path in life. Yeah. I remember there's a train station downtown New Jersey, Transit, that sometimes we would take when we want to go to New York City. And oh man, like the platform of New Jersey Transit was insane. I just remember, like, as a high schooler, being offered drugs, being offered, this guy came up selling, like, you know, pornography and DVDs, prostitutes you would see there. And I just had enough, you know, teaching to say, okay, that's an obvious no. Yeah. But didn't realize, like, oh, most people probably aren't being offered this on their way to, you know, on the way to the city.
So it seemed like your parents were sheltering you in some degree by sending you to the Christian school instead of the lean on me school. Were you sheltered in other ways, or were you free to, like, roam around the neighborhood and go down the street?
So I really have good memories of our neighborhood. Yeah, no, we had some fun neighborhood friends. Remember there was a guy across the street, he was a little older, so more friends with my brother. Kelly and Ronald were there. And this is taking me down memory lane here. I remember around the corner from my house was Jeffrey. He lived in the house with a tree that we'd climb. And I lived on 25th Street, a block over on 24th Street. TJ lived on 24th Street. And then there was another kid a block down on 25th Street. But we would all kind of, like, especially in the summers, you know, or after school, we'd just get together. And we had, like, the fun, like, summer childhood memory of, like, these kids from, like, 3 different blocks. We'd all get together. We usually played a lot on our block. We would play soccer in the street. We'd play football in the street. We would ride our bikes together.
Never any real problems.
No, never any problems. Well, we did that until my bike got stolen.
Oh, well, that's a problem, I guess.
That was a problem. By the neighbor, the druggy neighbor.
He needed some cash.
Yeah, well, I think I was in, like, the 4th or 5th grade, so what does that put me, like, at 10, 11-ish? Mm-hmm. I remember he came up to me one day. My parents were working, so this must have been the summer, I think. And he said, hey, can I borrow your bike? I just need to go down the street to my cousin's house to get something, and I don't have their car. Can I just borrow your bike?
He's always needing to go somewhere to get something.
And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And he didn't come back. And when my parents came home from work, I told him, like, hey, you know, the neighbor, Chepo was his name. I said, he has to borrow the bike. And instantly my mom goes, no. And I was like, what happened? She's like, you're never seeing that bike again. And then she got on the phone and called the neighbor, and she called the guy's mom. And I think, like, within, like, a half hour, she walked over like $100 cash. She's like, I'm so sorry. Just take this, buy him a new bike.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, but there was a blue Diamondback. I'm like, but I want my blue Diamondback. You won't be getting that back.
That's funny. Well, it's good that his mom made it right, at least.
Yeah. But no, so I had a good life of, you know, playing with friends in the street. We would go for walks, you know, just some of the friends or my brother. I remember we would walk, you know, several blocks around this just to get out. We lived so I grew up on 25th Street. This perpendicular street was 22nd Avenue, and it was a huge hill. So in the winters, when it would snow or if it would ice over, we would position friends at different corners. Like, all right, make sure it's all clear. No cars are coming, and, like, give us a signal. And we would just sled down this massive hill on 22nd Ave.
Oh man, that's fun.
Oh, so fun.
Very cool.
I had a friend who lived a couple towns over in Hawthorne, and I want to say I was maybe 4th, 5th grade. Man, those must have been good years because I keep remembering 4th, 5th grade. My buddy and his older brother, Eric, they were trying to make their own map of Hawthorne. I'm sure you could just like buy one, but I mean, they just took a bunch of like blank sheets of paper.
That's awesome. I love
and
it.
they get on their bike and they would just graph it all out. Like, oh, I live on Elburn Ave, and Elburn Ave intersects with whatever the street was, Van Heusen, I don't remember anymore. And he just had all these pieces of paper taped together on their dining room table.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, this is Hawthorne.
That's awesome.
And I was like, and that kind of made me like appreciate going to explore.
Yeah.
I never quite did that for Patterson, but
what does that guy do today, I wonder?
so
Is he a map maker?
Well, his older brother Eric, he's actually now he's the pastor of the church I grew up at.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
he was
cool.
a missionary in Peru for a long time.
Okay.
And then when he came back, I don't remember how many years now, but he's took over the church that I grew up at.
Mm-hmm.
So the church that he grew up in, he's now the pastor at.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
So I remember exploring a lot. It was good.
That's good. So you mentioned your parents were factory workers. What kind of factory?
Electronics.
Oh, okay. Do you remember any specific things that they made, or?
A little bit, but it was one of those things of like, I don't know, let's talk about like a career day. What does your dad do? My dad's a pilot. My dad's a police officer. I'm like, I don't really know what my parents do. Mm-hmm. Like, I could say they work at a factory, but that doesn't tell you what they do.
Yeah.
I remember they would say they did a lot of this part for airplanes.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the part was.
Yeah.
I think it was like a screen that would go into airplanes. Like factory workers, you don't bring your work home, right? You don't have to bring your work home like teachers or other people do.
Right.
But I remember one time they had to bring their work home. They were so busy, so behind, like slammed with an order or something. And they had like this little welding machine, and they would bring these things home. And they're like, and I still remember like the smell of like that heat burning stuff. And they're just like, doing all this stuff. And I'm like, doing. I'm like, this is what they do all the time.
That's awesome.
Something with electronics. I couldn't tell you much more than that. They did something with electronics and
that's good. Yeah. So you wanted to go down a different path though, as you mentioned. I assume you mean like to live somewhere else, but also career-wise wanted to do something else.
I didn't want to stay in Patterson. I mean, that was a big factor. I'm like, this was interesting to grow up this way, but not where I wanted to stay. And so my parents had me in music lessons from the time I was in first grade. I remember that at first grade I had Elson Portugal. Really cool guy, which I actually reconnected with him later in life.
Oh, cool.
And actually that's a cool story because it makes me remember like the power of like teachers. Sometimes I think, I don't know, I have these kids for music class for a semester. In 20 years, are they going to remember me much? But Elson Portugal, I had him for 1 year, and he's like part of my story.
Yeah.
He was my first piano teacher. And actually, I remember him teaching me how to draw a treble clef. I just remember that specific day. And I'm like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
So it makes me think of, the things I do does impact them because I have these kids for multiple years, more than just the 1 year I had him. But my parents put me in piano lessons from the first grade. And by the time I got to high school, probably, I realized I was getting pretty good at this. And I kind of knew like that was almost my way to maybe like a better life of not having to stay in Patterson and what am I going to do there? I kind of knew like, music was going to be my way to do something else. Although I didn't know I was going to do that for a career, honestly, till college.
Okay. What flipped that switch for you?
Well, I went to college as an elementary education major.
Okay.
That's a funny story. There was this team that we'd play, Gloucester County Christian Academy. And I want to say the coach's name was Coach Ham. And so we would do these triple headers, JV, girls varsity, boys varsity. So we're there at these schools for the night.
Mm-hmm. This is basketball?
Yeah, so basketball. And we just kind of always connected over the years. It's funny to kind of connect with a coach from a different school.
Yeah.
And during the JV game, he'd always sit with me and we would talk. And I remember, I could tell now as an adult, I knew he was trying to invest in me, trying to teach me. And I remember one day he just said, I remember we were actually at another school, Parsippany Christian. I think it was a regional tournament. And he said, I want you to think about going into elementary education. It was my junior year.
Okay.
So I was getting, close to a year or so going to college. He said, so many kids now are growing up in broken homes. Maybe they don't have a dad in the home. And there's just not many guys who teach in elementary school. He said, so sometimes their first male influence or male role model doesn't come until high school.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, that's too late.
Yeah.
He's like, they need a guy in their life before high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, sold. I was so inspired. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I went to college as an elementary education major, music minor. Then my piano teacher college was, kind of convinced me. He's like, hey, I think you're pretty good at this. You should do a double major. So I switched to a double major. And then by my junior year, my college started to offer an education minor. And that was the perfect spot for me. I wasn't loving the elementary education program. Mm-hmm. But I switched to a minor, got all the classes, most of the teaching classes in by my junior year. The only thing I didn't do was the teaching internship my senior year. I skipped out on the teaching internship. I'm like, hallelujah. And then I still got hired the next year to teach high school choir.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sweet. Best deal without having to do that internship.
Yeah. So this was all at PCC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you started college in New Jersey?
No.
Okay.
So this was when I was in New Jersey. He was talking to me about going to college for elementary ed. And so when I went to PCC, I was like, all right, let's do elementary ed.
You mentioned bank telling in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Or was that here?
No, it was in New Jersey.
Okay. Oh, right, because of the language stuff.
Yeah. So
okay.
When I had to come
but that was in high school?
I forget if I started my senior year of high school.
Okay.
It may have been. I think actually it was college. No, because in high school, my first job was Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, nice. You're
looking at Chucky.
Nice.
I worked the game room. So if your kid, the coin got stuck in one of the games, you would come find me and I'd, fix the game and give them a coin back. But when they would have these parties, you can't have somebody from the kitchen dress up as Chucky because we're making the pizza for the parties. Uh-huh. There were party attendants. Well, they can't dress up like Chucky. They're hosting the party.
Yeah.
So it's the game room guy. Oh, that thing stunk. Oh, it was so bad.
That's hilarious. Man, I'm excited. I knew Chucky. All this time.
But I still remember the little Chucky dance. We say happy, you say birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Anyway, I did that. Woohoo.
That's great.
Then I worked at Panera for maybe a year and a half before I went to college.
Okay.
And then college was when I became a teller during the breaks. I remember my mom told me one of her friend's son got a job at Wachovia.
Okay.
I don't know if you had a Wachovia where you grew up.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of it. Yeah.
It was like, oh, Wachovia. We're going to watch over your money. And so I was like, oh, cool. He worked at Wachovia. I'll go apply at Wachovia. So I did that. And actually, I really loved that job. It was so much fun. There's something cool about just this professional finance world. And I really liked my training, actually. The training course that I went through was just very thorough and actually taught me some really good, almost life lessons.
Okay.
I remember my trainer said something like, you don't get to have a bad day on your job. And we're all like, what? That's real insensitive. And she goes, no, hear me. She goes, you can have a bad day, but your customer can't know that. Your customer doesn't deserve to have you unleash your bad day on him or her. You got to be able to put that aside, serve your customer the best you can serve them, without, well, I'm just having a bad day.
Yeah.
And the same thing with your coworkers, like your fellow tellers shouldn't have to receive a harsh word from you, or, you're just having a bad attitude because you're having a bad day. And I compartmentalize a lot. So that kind of helped me to understand, yes, you can be having a bad day, but that's different than how you present yourself at work.
Yeah.
So that was helpful to me.
I imagine that's paid dividends in your current career.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, I remember with some of my kids, just trying to teach them that too. Like, I get you're having a bad day, but mom doesn't deserve to receive the brunt of your bad day.
Yeah.
You got to keep that separate.
Yeah. That's good.
That, and I remember having this trainer who would come in for fraud. And he said, I just remember him saying, "You don't really have money in your drawer." He's like, "That's just paper. All it is paper. The moment you start thinking, I have access to $5,000. He's like, then your brain starts to do things it shouldn't do. He's like, it's not money, it's just paper.
Yeah.
He's like, don't think like, oh, I'm just going to take a 20, go out to lunch, and then I'll grab a 20 later and put it back in. It's like, no, it's just paper. I remember this guy's name was Jack. And like, Jack put the fear of God in you. Like, you're not going to take a cent from that drawer, because,
Yeah.
Well, my last week of a teller before I got married.
You took $5,000.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So I was a rover, which meant like I just went to whatever branch had someone out for the week, or sometimes for the day. I would have to call in the office every day, and they would say, today you're going to Hoboken. Today you're going to Clifton. Today you're going to Wayne.
But that was interesting.
Yeah.
Keeps it fresh.
Yeah. Keeps it fresh. Although I could, I never was truly part of a team. Mm-hmm. I was always just the guy who's helping in for the day. And they had like team. I love that they would have these team goals for the branch. Like, all right, what are our numbers we're going to hit for this week? And I remember the first day, one of the branches was like, all right, Ed, what are your numbers for this week? What are you going for? And I'm like, I'm here for 2 days. I have no numbers and goals I'm trying to hit. And I just remember hearing everyone say stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going for the big 4 today. Big 4.
All right. Let's go big 4.
Yeah. Whatever the 4 products they were trying to sell. Okay. But so my last week of work, I still remember the transaction. It was this guy in about his 50s. It was a commercial account, business account. He did a deposit, I think. But anyway, he came in, wanted to cash out something like $5,000. And I had to get for that dollar amount, you usually have to get approval, another person just to approve the process, make sure you don't mess up. Got approval, so it's on my screen, pending, let's say it's 5,000. I forget the exact number. And then I remember him changing his mind. He's like, actually, let me just do I'm going to deposit some of this and only take some of this. Well, when I went to exit out of the screen for the cash out, my screen went blank.
Oh, man.
And somehow $5,000 was lost on the screen. So I never handed it over to him, you know what I mean? But it was lost on the screen. Yes. And I tried to get back to the screen, get back to that transaction. And when I did, it just wasn't showing the $5,000 anymore.
Oh, man.
And everybody knew this is Ed's last week of work. He's getting married. He's going on a honeymoon next week.
He could use $5,000.
He could use $5,000. And I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the exact scenario you don't want. I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. I'm getting married, honeymoon. And I'm like, oh my word. And I remember so if something like that happens for that dollar amount, the fraud department will come out, check your computer, check everything. And it was my very first teller manager from training. Remember, her name was Nancy. And I was like,
she's the one that came out?
Yeah, she's the one that came out. I was like, oh, good, it's Nancy. Nancy, I didn't do anything. I promise I didn't take it. And I'm, giving her the whole plea of, it wasn't me, I promise. So
It's all that Jack had warned me about.
Yes, I was like, Jack told me it's just paper. I didn't take the paper. Oh man,
That drawer is a portal to jail.
No, and I was kind of like an OCD teller of I liked all my dollar bills facing the same way.
Nice.
Everything was, my drawers were tidy the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the other tellers looked over and they're like, oh, that's too much. Like if I had 5 minutes downtime, I would just organize my money.
Nice.
And they were like, ain't nobody got time for that.
Appreciation for aesthetic even inside the drawer.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed working at the bank.
Yeah.
I always think if I wasn't teaching music, what would I do? I have no clue because I feel like music is all I know sometimes. But I like the finance world. It's fun.
That's good. So from bank teller to musician, instructor. So tell us about your career and what you do now.
So I'm a music teacher.
We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. God is with us. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. God is with us.
After I graduated from college, Pensacola Christian Academy hired me to teach high school choir and private lessons. And I was teaching some classes at the college. Yeah, I really love teaching music. And I think because there's so much variety in what I do, it's not just the same job every day or the same thing. So one day I'm teaching choir to 50 students, which the social part of me loves. I'm around a lot of people and I love high schoolers. Like that's probably my favorite age group of kids that I work with.
1, 2, and sing. Let Israel now say in thankfulness.
So I like getting to be with the high schoolers. But then I also teach private lessons. I get to be one-on-one with somebody. I read this book years ago and it talked about teaching like being your garden. And it's like, you see weeds in your garden, like that's on you. You are 100% the person who is cultivating that garden. Especially as a private teacher. Yes, there's other factors in there, what they do at home, how mom and dad are helping at home. But if I see a weed, like, what am I doing about that? Not just like, hey, I hope you fix it, kid. Like, pull the weed out, man. Like, do something. So it kind of, I get to do the big group social stuff, but also the one-on-one individual help. Some days I really love the group stuff, but some days I just really love the one-on-one help. It's so cool to see somebody just start to flourish where it was maybe they got it, maybe they didn't get the concept, maybe they did it okay, but then when they can start to do it like really well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, like they're getting this now. And, it's like a parent letting go of a kid. Like they can do this without me now. They don't need me to hold their hand anymore.
Yeah. So you've touched on this a little bit in that explanation, but why do you do what you do now?
Wow, good question. I mean, in one way, it's what I know. It's what I'm good at. I joke around and say, if I weren't teaching music, we would starve. Like, I don't know what else I would do. But I love working with kids. I love working with high schoolers. Mm-hmm. I remember I had teachers so much who really shaped me into a lot of who I am today. And it was right during those 7th through 12th grade years. They were huge just factors in my life. Yeah. School teachers taught me a lot. Coaches taught me a lot. But something about caring for me, who I am outside of the classroom, just like hit me really deeply. And so I guess I always want to like kind of give that back to my students as well. Let them know that, yes, I care about teaching you music, but I care also about who you are as a person, who you are as a Christian. Like, are you developing that area as well, or are you just developing as a musician? But also, like, I mean, I know as a believer, right? So we all have different jobs. You talk about the body of Christ, and not everyone can be the head, not everyone can be the hands, not everyone can be the feet. We need everyone in these different jobs. And I remember, I forget who it was, somebody several years ago kind of just said that to me. They said, no, that is your position. That is your part of the body. Like, you do that because I can't do that. I do this because you can't do that. And it was like, oh yeah, man, it's the body of Christ. Like, if I weren't doing that, sure, someone else eventually would step into my job at Trinitas and take over teaching music. But that is what I'm put on earth to do. I was put on this earth because God saw fit for me to do that.
He created you this way.
Yeah,
with
he
this
created me
purpose.
that way to do that. Like, music just makes sense to me. Teaching makes sense to me. Whether I do it well all the time, probably not. But I think it makes more sense to me than it does to maybe the next person. So it's kind of what, this is why I was put on this earth.
Yeah, you were equipped to do this.
Yeah.
That's great. Man.
Like I mentioned earlier, my parents put me in private lessons when I was in the first grade. I think was it when I graduated high school or college. I did a senior recital of both, high school and college. And I remember telling my parents, you gave me a job. Like, you equipped me for my job.
Yeah.
With that, maybe they just thought it was an extracurricular activity they put me in, but private lessons gives you this deep, deep understanding of it, more than just like a class would. And I told them, said, you gave me the tools to have a career and care for my family.
That's fantastic. So, yeah. Well, thankful for you and that you've had a huge impact in our life, in the life of the whole school, and in many families. But in ours specifically, I've seen it both with piano lessons for Lily, who started much later, but has really flourished in her few years with you, and just in helping shape our affections for music and how to look at it and what it really is in relation to our worshiping our God and all of those things, man. So thankful for your investment in our family and our life.
To do it. I mean, that's what I want. I want families and their kids to have more than just a surface appreciation for music.
Yeah.
I try to, the phrase I use a lot is, don't just tell me if you like a song or if you don't like the song. That's the most surface level appreciation of the music, or the surface level view of it. I either like it or I don't like it. Like, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Are you able to dig more and ask more musical questions besides, I like it, I don't like it?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, like, why don't you like it? Why do you like it? And then as worshipers at church, like, I really desire people to be literate, to be able to pick up music and be able to sing together with other believers, instead of, well, I don't really sing, or I don't really know what I'm doing when I look at the music. And reading is, all right, there's a broad range of reading. I think I probably read better musically than someone else who hasn't had the amount of training I have. But everyone can read something on the, they notice, oh, the words kind of pause here. Oh, that must mean like there's a rest there. You don't sing, or the words are stretched out here. Oh, that's a long note. You see notes going up, you see notes going down. So there's some level of reading that's being done on there. So I just want people to enjoy everyone's a musician at some level, whether you're an amateur, a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. I just want people to enjoy being around music and not being scared of music because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, you've helped with that in a huge regard. Even at church also. So you're leading our music at church, and you've done training with the congregation, which is awesome. And I've seen just in the past few years that we've been there that our level of musical understanding and the quality of our singing has really improved since you've been there, man.
Good.
Appreciate that. I'm trying to learn how to sing some of the parts, and I sing the bass part great when we do sing just the bass part. Yeah. So would you recommend other people go into this field?
Oh man. I think in teaching, like, you really have to want to teach. like people have said, say this phrase a lot, but there's a calling in teaching. If you do not feel like you are called to teach, if this is just something you're considering, it's a hard job.
Yeah.
Because there's so much is a human relationship. Which, every job has connections with other human, but you're constantly, every second of the day, interacting with someone else, trying to shape them. Yeah. And you're shaping them when they're having a bad day. You're trying to shape them when they're frustrated because they're not getting it. And now they're frustrated. And there's just so much like emotional investment in teaching. So it is not for everybody. And, even with some of the high schoolers, I'll hear people say, like, oh, what do you think? Would you want to teach someday? And they're like, no way. There's no way I could teach. And so some of it's just a personality thing too. Yeah. I kind of like knew I was a teacher. But especially like one of the things that validated this was freshman year of college. Music theory was, it just came easier to me. Like I understood it right away. But there was a girl in freshman music theory who was failing. Maybe I didn't mind helping her because she's kind of a pretty girl. But
extra motivation.
Yeah, extra motivation. But I remember like she was just troubled that she was failing. And I'm like, meet me tonight, 7:00 in the Commons. I'll help you study. I came up with like worksheets that I wrote out. I'm like, all right, she's struggling with this. Let me write this out. And I know she says she's struggling with this. And I came up with like worksheets to her that I created. And she was like, you made all this from this morning to tonight? I'm like, yeah, I had a free hour. And but that's what I'm like, all right, I'm a teacher.
Yeah. That's a pretty good sign.
Not just like, oh, let's study together, but like when you're, writing out stuff, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good sign. This is what I'm supposed to be doing in life.
That's great. Well, it's great to know so clearly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what lights you up these days, Ed? What do you get excited about?
Oh, man. What do I get excited about? If my kids were here, they would say hiking, Glacier National Park.
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably have bored people so much with that, but it really does, man. Like,
yeah.
I love hiking. It's probably the same reason lots of others do. There's just this excitement of what's out there. I don't know what's out there, what's around the turn.
Sort of goes back to your exploring days.
Love exploring. And I think just, when your work world is indoors, just wanting to be outdoors is so much more meaningful.
Yeah.
I told Miranda, even this year, just having this new music building, there's that connecting hallway to the main campus. I love just walking that now.
Yeah.
So I get to go outside and like I see real life. I see trees. I see grass. I see a squirrel running.
Yeah.
I see a bird versus being inside four cement walls all day long. And you just see chairs and desks and walls. Mm-hmm. I just love being outdoor.
Yeah.
But
that's great.
Hiking gets me excited. I think now it seems like every time we travel somewhere, I try to find somewhere we can at least do one hike. Yeah, it's like, oh, we're going on last year during spring break. We went to see some family in South Carolina. So we spent a night in North Georgia, nice area to hike, a lot of mountains up there. And it was beautiful. We did a great hike over there. I'm always looking for like what's a national park that's close by.
Yeah.
So over the summer, with Lily and Olivia, they were in Dallas for the National Honor Choir. Mm-hmm. And then on the way back, we were stopping in Louisiana because I was teaching at that choir camp. I'm like, in between Dallas and Louisiana is Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas. And so we stopped there for just one night. Okay. But it was like one night, got to stay there, got to go on a hike. And
that's great.
Yeah, so hiking gets me excited.
There's a lot worse hobbies you could have. So what about folk dancing?
Oh, man. I love it. I love getting called folk dancing. It is such a wild turn of a path from where I said I grew up. You know, this inner city kid growing up in the hood, and
not a lot of that in New Jersey.
Not a lot of folk dancing happening in Patterson, New Jersey.
Yeah.
But so I remember it's 2020. Well, let me back up. So our school does a winter ball for the older kids, and it's a beautiful thing, you know, put on this nice event, but we teach the kids how to dance as opposed to, you know, just a school ping on a prom and just come dance, but don't dance like that. You know, like we teach the kids how to do this.
Yeah,
and
I
so
love that. Yeah.
I saw some of that folk dancing from that, but it's a mixture of like some folk dancing and then like some like ballroom dancing, which I'm not super strong at. But I went to Idaho, to Moscow, at New St. Andrews to take these summer classes, and just it was a 2-week class, and in between the weeks on that Friday night, we just went to a teacher's house for dinner, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna dance," and I was like, "Oh, I don't really know these," but when I saw it, I loved it, and not just the dancing; it's the community that I saw. I saw people that I don't know, right? Because we're 50 of us from around the country came for the summer class. I don't know these people, but I've got to dance with them. And I've got to look them in the eye and hold their hand and do all this stuff. And, you know, I say folk dancing teaches men to be men. It teaches ladies to be ladies.
Yeah.
Right? There's these distinct gender roles in there. It teaches you to, like I said, you got to look someone in the eye. And if it is somebody from your community that you do know, like I can't have a bad relationship with you, you know, be upset with you, and then have to dance with you.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps you learn to put things aside.
That's good. Yeah.
And, you know, it's just such a beautiful way of, especially the boys and the girls mixing with each other in a non-romantic way.
Yeah.
Right, because I think, especially, you know, once the hormones kick in and once they're in high school, they think a boy-girl always means a romantic pairing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like these are your friends. These are your friends way before you're dating anybody. That's a great way for the friends to mix in. And it's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love that you've picked up the calling aspect of it. And that's been real helpful for our community too, man. Yeah, that's great.
Well, I think you guys remember, so I was there in Idaho summer of 2020, 21, and 22. For a music training course. It's at Chennai Summer Music Institute.
Yeah.
I got my Kodai certification. It's a specific way of teaching music from this composer, Zoltan Kodai, which is such a great philosophy. It's a very classic way of teaching. It's primarily teaching as the voice is your primary instrument. So like in class at school, I don't use the piano very much when I teach choir.
Oh, okay.
Or I don't use the piano very much in my music class. It makes them, it relies on them to be the singer. Instead of just copying what they hear from the piano, it trains them to hear it for themselves. So it's fantastic. I'm such a huge advocate of Kodai teaching. But yeah, I went there for those 3 summers. And I think maybe it was, I don't remember which year it was, but I remember for my birthday, which is in November, Miranda said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And I said, "I just want to have some friends over and do a folk dance in our driveway."
Yeah.
And she goes, it was like, "Of course you do. That's so you. But just know that not everybody's like you." But we did it anyway. And you guys were there. And I remember like Lily and Clark, who they're both so good at dancing. I forget which one of them, but one of your kids said, "Can we do this like," I forget if it said every week or like every month. Can we do like once a month, like a dance club?
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that you love it that much. I don't know that I can commit to anything else. But I will for my birthday every now and then just have a dance. I think I did it like maybe 2 years for my 2 years for my birthday.
A lot of fun for sure. Yeah.
It's great. Now I'm getting to do it with the youth at church, the youth at school.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I don't know how you find time for all these things. Speaking of not being able to commit to adding more on your plate, I know your plate is full. We were even looking at all the stuff that you put together for the church worship team. like you're singing all the parts and posting that for them. I'm like, how does he have time for this? But I guess it's like the girl you were tutoring. Oh, I had a free hour, so I just did all this amazing amount of work.
Yeah, man, there's a lot you can do in 24 hours. And still, you say that it's kind of you. I think we're all busy, but I see other people and I'm like, how does he get all that done in 24 hours?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that and the church thing that was just out of, I think necessity. And I think like for the future, because we sing a lot of the same hymns, right? We're not just singing it once this year and then we'll never sing it again. Yeah. So for as long as we ever sing that, once I did it once, I have it set up for the future. You post the music, the sheet music with it. I record the alto part, record the tenor part, record the bass part, and then I don't have to do that again. I remember I think in 2024, there was like a month where I was really sick. And so some of the recordings don't have me singing because I was sick, didn't have a voice or something. Or if I was singing, I sounded awful because I was sick. So I was like, oh, tell me when we hit that song again because I need to re-record that one.
That's funny. Well, it's good that it's a one-time investment, but it's definitely valuable. Great that you're doing that. So Ed, what would you like the future Ed, 20 years from now, what would you like Ed Varela 20 years from now to remember about Ed Varela today?
Oh my goodness. To remember about me today? Oh, nothing. Like, forget about it. The Ed Varela of today loves his kids, loves his family. I hope that doesn't change. I'll become a grumpy person 20 years from now and I don't want to be with my kids. I had a friend who passed away in 2021 from COVID, but he would always say this all the time. Like, he's like, I just want to be home with my family. Like some of the guys from church, we'd want to get together, like, hey, let's go out and do this. And he's like, really can't. He's like, I want to go, but I just want to be home with my family. And this was like, that was just his statement all the time. I'm like, John, hang out with us, man. And, Miranda says, she goes, it was probably just something that God had put in his heart because he died earlier than expected. So he had a rich time with his family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love being with my kids. Oh man. I mean, Lily's a senior, Olivia's a junior, and I am like starting to have like those heart palpitations of if she goes, when she goes away to college, I'm like, oh man, that's going to hit me hard. So I think the next 10 years is going to bring a whole lot of change in my life.
For sure.
So in 10 years, all my kids will have graduated from school. Lawson will be finishing up college, potentially have kids married.
Yeah.
That is crazy to say those words.
Yeah.
All my kids out of the house, kids possibly married in 10 years.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hopefully lots of little grandkids coming around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you want your grandkids to know about you? If they're watching this, say, 60 years from now when you've just passed, what would you want them to know about you?
Do what's right no matter what. Even when it's not popular, when it's hard. Prioritize your family over our friends. Make church a priority. That's not optional. Love God. And you build a relationship with God, not just your parents' relationship with God. I feel like I remember having some of those things were like key moments in my life that somebody taught me that. And kind of that last one going along with prayer. Listen to your parents pray, listen to others pray, but eventually you have to be the one who's developing that prayer life, not just be the spectator, but you need to be the doer. That and go hike a national park, kids.
Yeah. There you go.
If you go to Montana, you won't want to go anywhere else. It's the best out there.
You're not moving to Montana, are you?
Oh, no.
Not this week.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I could live there. And I grew up in the snow. I enjoyed that, but Montana is harsh. I don't know that I could do the snow life.
Summers are rough here, but I don't know if I could do winters there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you grew up in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I'm over the snow.
Yeah.
It was fun as a kid, but I'm like, no, I don't want to keep doing that.
I love it. What we had here this last winter
year
was perfect.
Yep.
come for a couple of days, get to enjoy it. And
Once every 75 years or whatever it is.
I'll take it more often than that, but I do enjoy it. I love it when it's falling, but then a couple of days in, I'm good.
Oh, I shoveled more than I care to shovel.
So anything we haven't touched on yet, Ed, that you want to share?
Well, let me just tell you my story about my mom coming to the States.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So I mentioned my family's from South America. I almost feel bad now that I don't remember much about my dad's story of coming here. And my dad passed away in 2011, but I'm sure I could get his brother, my uncle, or someone else to tell me that story. But my mom's story is just, it's like a movie. So she came over in 70 or 71. So she was about 30 years old. She came with, I think it was 3 other girls and a guy. So there's a group of 5 of them. They were coming to the States. One of the girls had a family that lived in New Jersey. So they're going to go stay with them. And my mom had a teaching certificate. She did a teaching certificate in Brazil. And maybe she was thinking about, trying to teach here in the States or something. But they fly in. It was through Miami Airport when they get there for customs. And one of the girls just was probably nervous, didn't speak English well, didn't answer a question right or something. And the immigration agent didn't feel right about it and pulled her aside into a room. And I remember my mom saying, she goes, they took her to this room and we're waiting and she didn't come back. And her next flight is happening soon. And they found out that they sent her back to Brazil. Well, that was the girl whose friends lived in New Jersey or whose family lived in New Jersey. So now you've got this other group of 4 who's going to New Jersey and like, hey, your cousin or your niece, well, she's not here, but we are.
Oh, man.
Yeah. This is 1971 before cell phones and before the internet. So my mom had a piece of paper with a phone number on there. So from Miami, they fly into, I think it was to JFK in New York City. And so she's trying to call, or somehow they got to the bus station, Grand Central Station, maybe. They get there and she's trying to, she knows she needs to call these people to tell them, like, what do I do now? And she didn't know how to use a payphone. And so there was this a hippie that was around there and saw her struggling. And so kind of was like just through motions telling her like, hey, come here, let's go to the little snack stand. You need to buy a candy bar because you need coins. And so, she showed my mom like, you need $1. She bought a candy bar. So she got some coins and they went to the payphone. And this hippie was, put the coins in, dialed the number for her and like gave her the phone. And I remember my mom, talking to this person and him saying, you need to get on a bus to Patterson. And she's like, there's no buses here. I don't see any bus. And he's like, it's downstairs. You got to go down to find the bus. But I just think like, what a crazy time. So I traveled Europe in 2005, winter of 2005 with some friends. I didn't have a cell phone, but I felt okay going with some friends. And, I could call my parents, check in with them every day, let them know I was fine. But, I looked up stuff on the internet. I knew where we were going. I had books tell me where we were going. But like 1970, to have nothing but a piece of paper and a payphone, that I think is just terrifying.
Yeah. No MapQuest printouts.
I know. How in the world did they do this? And then to have the one connection you have to the States be deported.
Yeah, that's wild.
I just think that's crazy. But my mom said, so at that point, now they're down to the 3 girls and the 1 guy. And so they kind of, are relying on this guy of like, all right, where are we going to go next? What are we doing? Mm-hmm. I just remember her story saying this guy was just an idiot. Like, we want him to be the leader. We want him to tell us what to do next, and nothing.
Oh, man.
She's like, he didn't know what to do. And so my mom naturally became the leader of that group and was like, all right, we need to go here. We need to find a phone. She figured out where the buses were. And then even there, it's a huge terminal, like tons of buses, tons of windows to buy your tickets at. She, had to figure out, how do I get the bus to Patterson? Where she's got this guy there that they would think he's going to be the reliable leader, and he wasn't. But man, I always think about that. I think my mom was so brave.
Yeah.
She was so brave to do that and not let fear grip her and win.
Yeah.
When with her friend having to go back, and she was still like, I'm going to figure out how to do this.
Press on.
Yeah, how to press on in adversity. I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love how the story of the hippie too is still like, that's what you found yourself doing, seeing someone struggling and helping.
Oh yeah.
So it's from part of your story before you were even part of the story.
Yeah.
So Ed, can people find you online?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook mostly. I have a website for my music teaching studio, edwardvarela.com.
Well, thanks so much for coming by, man, and having this conversation with us.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. This was great.
Yeah, love it, man. Great stories.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
man.
Appreciate you. Thanks, buddy.